I want to extend a warm welcome to our invited guests and members of our Strategic Advisory Group that are helping us establish the Accessible Media course here at Mohawk College. His Honour, David Onley, past Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. Maxine Carter, Manager, Equity and Access for the City of Hamilton. Levi Yanosi, member of the Board of Directors for the Canadian Hard Hearing Association. Jason Fair, Adaptive Technology Specialist with the Canadian National Institute for the Blind. David Best, Accessibility IT Specialist, appointee of the Ontario Government Accessibility Standards Advisory Council. And also joining us this morning are members of our Board of Governors, including Trent Jarvis. Thank you for being part of this very important announcement today. I'd like to now call upon Richard Kavanagh, CEO of the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund, to tell us more about this morning's announcement.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. This is pretty exciting, and that is just really cool. I really like that combo logo that they did up here. I'm very, very happy to be here today, representing the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund in my capacity as the CEO. First of all, on behalf of the fund, I'd like to congratulate Mohawk College on their outstanding application to the fund. It is among the first group to receive a grant from the fund. And just to back up a little, you may know that the fund was established as an independent and impartial organization with a 9-person board of directors, 6 accessibility directors, and 3 from the broadcasting industries. And our mandate is to fund projects that will tangibly increase accessibility to broadcasting content in Canada. And I can tell you that when the Mohawk application crossed my desk and the desks of our grant committee, subcommittee of the board, there was, I could hear a virtual cheer go on. It was absolutely squarely dead on the education stream of the fund, and it's absolutely remarkable in what it is destined to achieve as a model. Designing and launching a mandatory course that will instruct students on the creation of accessible media content addresses an enormous gap in the world of accessibility. And each and every one of the members of the grant committee echoed this sentiment, that this is a gap, and Mohawk is showing stellar leadership in addressing it almost right out of the gate. Beyond this, it was the fulsome nature of the Mohawk application that drew some gasps, I would say. Mohawk's intention to form an advisory committee to create an accessible, fully accessible newsroom, to develop course materials that use the appropriate language, and to share its efforts and seek to migrate them and use it as almost a seeding initiative for a larger program, absolutely walks the talk on accessibility. We could not be more pleased to be supporting this effort. The fund looks forward to working with you. I personally look forward to working with you and helping you out where I can with this project, and congratulations once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I'd like to now call upon Mohawk's Associate Dean of Media and Entertainment, Kurt Mueller, to tell us more about the Accessibility Media course and what it means for Mohawk students and grads. Kurt.
Thank you very much, Christine. Your Honor, President McCurley, Vice President Broderick Bowes, Mr. Kavanagh, honored guests. This is a truly exciting day for the Media and Entertainment Department at Mohawk College. Our journalism students will be the first in Canada to receive, as part of their studies, in-depth training in producing content accessible to Canadians with disabilities. Mohawk's journalism newsroom will be equipped with speech recognition, captioning, screen reading, and other software and hardware. Students will learn to use this technology to distribute content to as wide an audience as possible, regardless of disability. With these skills, our students will have a competitive advantage in an industry where the size of their audience will determine their success or failure. And they will understand and practice a fundamental principle of good journalism, that your content and your coverage must reflect the diversity of your audience. To that end, as part of this project, our newsroom will be redesigned to make it accessible to student journalists with disabilities. Their perspectives and their insights will enhance both the quality of our curriculum and our journalism. So our objective here is threefold. Number one, to increase the number of journalists trained to produce accessible digital and broadcast content. Number two, to increase the number of journalists with disabilities producing such content by making Mohawk College a national leader in providing training to student journalists with disabilities. And number three, to distribute this course into widely available guides to be used by all journalists. Mohawk will make the curriculum available at no charge to colleges and universities through a Creative Commons license. This training will be developed with the expertise of specialists here at the college and the guidance and oversight of a strategic advisory board. We're extremely fortunate that His Honor David Onley has agreed to serve on this advisory board. He will be joined by representatives from our partners, including the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, the Equity and Access Department of the City of Hamilton, the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association, and Inclusive Media and Design. We see this course as an important first step. Mohawk also plans to develop a one-year postgraduate certificate in accessible media production for working journalists and all communications professionals. I'd like to thank Richard Kavanaugh and the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund for their generous support, without which this project would not be possible. And thank you to all of our partners, and particularly thank you to the wonderful staff at Mohawk College, Greg Gagnon, Janice Fennell, Catherine McCurdy-Lapierre, Jennifer Yonke, and Ted Scott for their help and expertise. His Honor has said that true accessibility occurs when people with disabilities can fully participate in the social, cultural, and economic life of Ontario. It's my belief that this cannot be achieved until everyone has equal access to information, and I'm confident that this project will bring us closer to that goal.
Thank you, Kurt. To introduce His Honor David Onley, I'd like to call on Mohawk College President Ron McCurley.
Well, thank you, Christine. Good morning, everybody, and welcome. Mohawk is very proud to be among the first in Canada to offer a course dedicated to teaching students how to create fully accessible digital and broadcast content. The numbers speak for themselves. More than 3.8 million Canadians report having a disability. That's almost 14% of the population. And Mohawk itself isn't far off that statistic. About 13% of Mohawk students also report having a disability. So there's no doubt that there's a need for accessible content, and we're very proud that Mohawk journalism grads will be among the first to make it more widely available. I want to thank Richard Kavanaugh and the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund for supporting this project. I want to thank Kurt and the members of his team for the work they've done to make this happen. And I want to thank the members of the Strategic Advisory Board for volunteering to be a part of this. I had the distinct honor of introducing one of those advisory board members this morning. His Honor David Onley was appointed Ontario's 28th Lieutenant Governor of Ontario in 2007, following a very distinguished broadcasting career with City TV and CP24. He was Ontario's first Lieutenant Governor with a physical disability and made accessibility a priority during his mandate. Because of him, accessibility and the need for equity occupies a much more prominent place in our society today. His list of accomplishments include establishing a Lieutenant Governor's Accessibility Committee, successfully engaging both the private and the public sectors to create accessible work environments, and working closely with many community-based organizations to promote accessibility services. His Honor also served as Chair of Ontario's Accessibility Standards Advisory Council from 2005 to 2007, and was an Accessibility Council member for the Rogers Centre and the Air Canada Centre. Please join me in welcoming His Honor David Onley.
you. Christine, thank you. And my previous career, of course, as was mentioned, I was at City TV. At that time, Kurt was at CFTO. Sue was at the CBC. Avowed foes. But I'm here to tell you today that we're all now friends. It seems a lifetime ago, I'm sure for Kurt, as it does for me and for Sue, that we were involved in television professionally before we all saw the light and moved into academia, as I'm now teaching at the University of Toronto. And teaching, I might add, an accessibility course, the politics of accessibility. But I think back to those days when there was no notion really of a concept of accessibility at all. And as the President just mentioned, the statistics in terms of the population with disabilities is really quite significant. I'm glad to see it so high here at Mohawk. In the province of Ontario, for instance, our average of the population affected by disability is higher than the national average. It's 15.5%. For the province of Ontario, that's some 1.8 million people. And it's roughly distributed half and half of physical disabilities, such as those that I have, and others in this room have, but the other 50% of the population have the so-called invisible disabilities. And a significant proportion of them have some aspect of communication. Well, as a difficulty, perhaps not a full-fledged disability, but a limitation in their daily life. So this is where this program and this course and the continuing initiative, which I hope will lead someday to a full-fledged program, is so crucially important, because it recognizes, as we all do increasingly over the last number of years, greater and greater awareness of accessibility needs. And so we have moved in terms of curb cuts and wheelchair parking spots and automatic doors and ramps, all of which I've experienced, by the way, since arriving here on campus. All very, very important in their day. And various advocates over the decades fought diligently to get those improvements into our society. And then with the passage of the Accessibility Act, the AODA, 10 years ago, greater and greater awareness of more needs for people needing transportation standards and building standards and communication standards. And in that whole process over the last 10 years, what has happened is there's started to be a culture shift, a greater and greater awareness. I see it in my students at the U of T. I'm sure you see it here in your students here at Mohawk, even if they're not taking a course anyway related to accessibility or disability rights. They are increasingly aware of the needs of accessibility for a greater and greater percentage of our population. And so this is the right time. This is clearly the right place to begin an initiative like that. Mr. Kavanaugh, thank you for the fund, making the dollars available for this incredibly valuable proposition. I will simply close by saying that when I received the letter from Mohawk, I mentally accepted about 3 or 4 lines into the letter. And I'm just saying to myself, please don't let there be a tripwire. Don't let there be something that's going to stop me from saying yes. And fortunately, there was none. So it was a great pleasure to be here. Thank you all for the work that you have been involved with in making this day come to pass. And I certainly look forward to working with you in the weeks and years ahead. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Your Honor. To talk about what this announcement means to students in Mohawk's journalism program, I'd like to call on Samantha Hoover. Samantha is a second-year journalism student and media director for the Mohawk Students Association. Samantha?
Thank you so much, Christine. Hi, everyone. On behalf of all of Mohawk's journalism students and the Mohawk Students Association, I want to thank Robert Kavanaugh and the Broadcasting Accessibility Fund for supporting Mohawk students. I'm proud that my college is taking the lead in developing a course that is the first of its kind in Canada. During my time in journalism, I've worked on the campus TV show, I've been a student rep, I've had the opportunity to value